Good afternoon, everybody. Just settling myself here. Beautiful. So as you can see, we're still at the secret waterfront backup base headquarters. My drink today is a much more advisable iced water. I don't know why I was drinking, well, no, I know exactly why I was drinking coffee yesterday, just hot in the heat is not advisable. So, let's see. Started sleep training the baby last night, which basically means it sounds like more sleep, but it's actually less because we had her basically let her try to fall asleep by herself, but you know, we still wanted to go in every so often, let her know that she's not alone in this cruel world, but also didn't want to lead her on and make her think she was gonna get milk and get put to sleep manually in the compassionate manner to which she's accustomed. So basically it boiled down to it was my job instead of Kristen's, which is totally fair because it's been Kristen's job multiple times a night for months and months and months, and it's been ridiculous for her, and I've just kind of slept through it all. So now it's my turn to specifically, when the baby wakes up, wait 10 or 15 minutes and then go in and cuddle / calm / comfort her for 2 to 3 minutes, but specifically do not help put her to sleep and then put her back down, which gets her super angry, of course, and leave. And then do that again every 10 or 15 minutes until she figures out how to fall asleep. So I was actually very fortunate in that it was only one round of these, which lasted, say, an hour. So I went to bed a little after midnight after the not only exhausting but frankly slightly emotionally traumatic experience of saddening and angering my 7-month-old baby repeatedly in the dark. Anyway, so that happened. Anyway, but now I'm out in the glorious sun, feeling a little sleepy, but mellow, good. Got my ice water. And I believe I owe you an announcement. Oh man, see what I did there with that camera effect? Now you can see, well, a large glass of water. I'm not sure why that's a camera effect. Anyway, it's like special effects. I'm like a hobbit next to this pint of water. It comes in pints? Yeah. Wow. Like I said, not a ton of rest recently. Hey, somebody's here, and also I'm getting word that my live connection is weak. So if I don't know what happens when my live connection is weak. Apparently that's what happens. That's good timing, sort of ironic on the, I'm not sure what happens when I have a weak connection, and then drops. But I was gonna say, I wonder if it sputters out, or if I get sort of faint and echoey, like I'm on some sort of old-fashioned gramophone, because that's the thing that people do live broadcasts on, apparently. Hi, Ashley. Anyway, so I'm here in my alternate backup location, complete with undisclosed location, plain white wall, and my backup tripod. I think that's gonna work. Here, forgive me, this will be inelegant. Just give me one moment. Better. Alright, cool. Alright, so I believe you were promised a possibly false announcement. So the announcement is, I think I'm done with the full final draft of Hubris Towers episode 7, which I've been wanting forever and saying for a little while now, but this time I actually, I need to do my last read-through, and Bill will probably do a read-through, and Kristen will do a read-through, and then we'll send it off to the editorial department and the advertising team and all our people. But whoa, hello. This is so cool. There's people here. This is wonderful. Super cool people too. That's the great part. Anyway, so Hubris Tower 7, we're aiming for a rapid turnaround. Could be out as soon as later this week. And there's Russians in it, which is amazing. So we're back to Kindle edition of the Dreamworld Collective. That's not the cover of the book, that's just the cover of the Kindle. Oh, and I think we're starting chapter 6, and I have to switch out. Because, okay, so I'm in the middle of reading, as I think I was yesterday, um, beta edition of a book that I wish I knew I could tell you more about, but it's fantastic. Just keep an eye out and an ear out, and I'll tell you more when I can, I guess. It's fantasy. There's magic, there's a cool cosmology where, like, day and night each lasts much longer than they do in our worlds, and it kind of shifts society around, and magic ties into that. It's super cool. Cannot say too much, or unless I can, in which case maybe I will later. Anyway, on to chapter 6, Stormy Brains. Alex put down a half-eaten pancake as Zen disappeared into the house. His eyes shot from Sushi to Summer. I thought you said he told us we could go on without him. Summer looked at him with wide, reddening eyes and gave a small shake of her head. No, we just said it would be fine. She turned back. Oh, Sushi got up from her lap and said, no, we just said it would be fine. She turned back to her easel and started painting in tiny, violent slashes. Otto watched her in a silent, fidgety daze. What does that mean? Alex let the question burst out of him, more angry sounding than he'd intended. I thought he was just buying supplies. Summer walked over to the wagon and began looking through the colorful little heap of food. Oh no, she murmured. She sounded on the edge of tears. Are you okay? Alex asked, suddenly concerned. She shook her head, knuckles pressed to her lips, still rooting through the wagon with her free hand. She began pulling out single items. Goat cheese, blackberries, Shasta Cola, starfruit, don't you see? Our favorites. She shook her head again, flopping her long dreadlocks over slender, bent shoulders. He was gone like 2 hours. She sank onto the step down between the kitchen and the sunroom. He wasn't gone that long, Alex reassured her, but a dreary tension was beginning to cling to his insides. He'd barely thought about Zen through the whole process of hunting for fire and cooking with Summer and testing the preserves in case they were poison. It was starting to sink in just what a big deal this would be to Zen. Their first breakfast, first real adventure in the house, first struggle and victory, and they'd left Zen out in the cold, literally. Guys, we've got to do something, he declared. Like what? Snapped Sushi from the easel. Now she was painting like she wanted to poke 1,000 tiny holes in the canvas with a brush. We already ate it without him. It's done. Summer's body shook once as a few silent tears shimmered down her cheeks. This is my fault, she said. I snapped at him. I made him go even though he was having such a good... And then I just told you to go on without... Alex sat down heavily beside her and grabbed her shoulder in a comforting squeeze. This is Zen we're talking about. He'll be okay. What about 11Cs? Piped up Otto in a passable Hobbit accent. Luncheon? Afternoon tea? Dinner? Supper? What, like stage a special meal for him? Asked Alex. I think it would just feel put on. We could get him to make us fancy brunch, Otto replied, and say we're sorry. That could... Think you could take this somewhere else? Sushi asked. I kind of have to focus on finishing this. It's hardly going to dry before the contest as it is. Oh, sorry, are we disturbing you? Summer's eyes flashed. Alex wondered sometimes how the two of them were such close friends. They argued and made up and fought and played together and ignored each other like sisters. Maybe it worked the same way as muscles. Break down, rebuild stronger, repeat. Just a little, snapped Sushi. I'm sorry, I didn't realize your paintings were more important than your friend. Sushi spun around, her brush wet with pinkish paint. Are we going to do this now? It's Zen, okay? He'll be sad for about 100 seconds, then he'll realize that this makes a great conflict in the story of his life, and start being happy that he's so sad and we're having a fight, and then he'll see, I don't know, a butterfly or some pretty leaf or something and forget about the whole thing. And meanwhile, I've got maybe a few dozen hours tops to get this whole series of paintings finished and submitted so I can win first prize, which will nearly cover our first month's rent so I can keep living with my friends, okay? Is that friendly enough? Yeah, that's just great, thanks. Summer jerked up from the step where she was sitting. Come on, boys. I think I might go up and see Zen, Otto sighed. He grabbed a 2-liter of Dr. Shasta out of the wagon on his way out. Alex could see in his slumping shoulders and half-shut, half-darting eyes a subconscious effort to cut himself off from all the tension. It occurred to Alex this was the first time Otto had ever lived with other people, aside from freshman year, which didn't really count, rooming with Zen, who didn't exactly count either. And without any screens, not that that was likely to last. Alex decided to keep an eye on him, just to make sure he adjusted okay. You want to help me with the dishes? Summer looked at him with sad eyes, hungry for more than kitchen help. He hesitated, but then this was what living together was for, right? Sure, he said, and followed her out of the sunroom. Otto thoughtfully cracked the cap of his 2-liter bottle of Dr. Shasta and took a swig as he thumped up the stairs. He tried to think through the situation, but found himself at a loss regarding the type of actual content such thoughts would involve. It was one thing when you were dealing with a programming bug or improvement, or even raid tactics. There was a goal, and there were solutions, and some of them worked, and some didn't. It was different with, he fumbled tentatively to pin down the concept, people stuff. There were all kinds of things you could do wrong, and there was nothing to think about exactly. You were just supposed to think. Think before you speak. You might want to think about that, mister. That sort of thinking. And he was upstairs. Man, he muttered in frustration. That always happened. Just when he was about to get somewhere, got somewhere. He knocked on the tower room door. It drifted open. Inside, Zen was balanced on a chair, pounding furiously at the wall with a hammer. Putting up a hammock, Otto realized as the door opened further. Zen, he glanced at his hands. Brought some Shasta? Oh, no, man. Zen didn't look back, which was wise under the circumstances. The chair looked a little rickety, and he was hammering pretty hard. Are we allowed to do that? Asked Otto. What? Hammer stuff into the walls? Zen shrugged. You okay? Otto prodded the words into the room ahead of him to see if they would survive. Zen shook his head. No, he said frankly. It was pretty inconsiderate. Otto felt his face heat up. Yeah, sorry, I didn't. Zen stopped hammering for a moment and glanced over his shoulder. Probably wasn't your fault. You were asleep. He waved Otto into the room and turned back to his work. It's mostly the girls, he added after a moment. Otto considered this in what he hoped was a sympathetic manner. Not that Zen was even watching. It's a weird thing being actually angry, Zen continued. Having apparently beaten his current nail into submission, he got off the chair and started wrestling it through the piles of books and bedding on the floor. You know, I get annoyed, sometimes upset. I've even been mildly indignant on 2 separate occasions, but I don't remember ever being properly angry. Otto took another swig of Dr. Shasta. It was true. He couldn't remember the last time that he'd been angry either, except for raid stuff, and that only sort of counted. What's it like? He asked. Sort of a cross between wanting to punch someone and wanting to just forget it all and go home, replied Zen. He began pounding the other end of the hammock into the wall. Oh, that's normal, Otto assured him with mild surprise. I didn't realize we were talking about that kind of angry. Zen grunted. What are you going to do? Otto asked. Zen yanked hard on the hammock a few times to test it, then swung himself up into it with remarkable agility. It was a Brazilian hammock, the kind made of soft, colorful cloth that completely swallows you up and hides you away. Stay, came Zen's slightly muffled voice. What? Otto wasn't sure he'd heard right. I'm gonna stay. It's what you do, right? This is my big chance. There's no point being all communal and committed if everything is wonderful all the time. Just kinda sucks that I'm the one who has to live it first. I like wonderful, muttered Otto. Yeah. But everything's okay? You're not too whatever? No, not okay at all. Pranks, revenge, punching, rants, and depression, but I'm not gonna leave. Otto smiled wickedly. Yes, he hissed like a little Igor. I see. His mind began whirling with evil ideas. Cream cheese in socks, sardines in underwear drawers. It gave him a moment's pause that all his prank ideas involved food and underclothing. Nevertheless, they were solid. This shall be the dawn of a grand new era, he declared triumphantly. No, said Zen sadly, I don't think so. Something in his tone cut into Otto, leaving a sense of terrible, bottomless panic. Fix it, screamed a wordless voice in his head. Join me, and together we will rule the galaxy as father and son, he growled in his best Vader imitation. Actually, his Vader imitation would be way better than that. That was pretty bad. Anyway. Yeah, Zen responded listlessly from the depths of his hammock, not acknowledging the joke. I'd kind of like to just read for a while. Otto, for once, recognized the hint loud and clear. He got up to leave. Is there anything I can... I guess just, if you want me, I'll be here. Give me a couple trips on the communicator if you... He laid one of his walkie-talkie conglomerations softly by the door and padded out of the room. Alright, that's enough for me. I am going to go do the aforementioned last read through on that Hubris Towers episode, and if it's all good, which I think it is, I hope it is, I'm pretty sure by now it better be, because I've been through it a lot of times and passed it through so many layers of management and editorial department and I don't know, the legal, obviously, vetting, due diligence, just all kinds of departments. So should be fantastic at this point, but I do still need to read through it one last time. So I'm going to go do that. I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon, and thanks for joining me. See you later.